Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2, 1.
Now, if you're ready, we will begin.
Welcome to the Marla and Dave radio show. This is reality radio with a couple that keeps it real. Current events, pop culture, music, relationships, fitness, the hot topics of the day. Marla and Dave Thomas. This is the Marla and Dave radio show. Real radio.
Welcome to the Marla and Dave show. Today is going to be an incredibly good show. I jumped out here first because I'm going to be overpowered by the Thomases soon.
Wow,
They've multiplied. There's mom and dad Thomas. There's sister girl Patty Thomas.
Patty is a Conwell. She actually chastised me at least for 2 years.
First of all,
for calling her Patty Thomas.
First of all,
after she was married,
she was born a Thomas.
That's true.
And then she was gifted to a Conwell. For the record.
And we do love our brother Al, but for the record, she's a Thomas in my heart at all times, Al. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's okay.
We have a great show.
He can't fight you. He's not here.
We have a great show for you guys today. What Marla is alluding to is our guest are my parents, Jocelyn and Claude Thomas Jr., along with my sister, Patrice Conwell. They have an incredible ministry as well as they've written a great book, How to Become a Professional Lover. And they're going to describe to you the characteristics and in great detail of why I'm such a good husband. Anyway, so, and I want to thank them for training me and raising me that way.
I think we should have. I think we should have Battle of the Parents. I think we should Skype my parents in half of the screen, and see, because there may be some, some qualities to just being a kamikaze kind of wife that might work. I actually gave you purpose.
Well, you did. Not only that, you give me love and great companionship and great friendship.
Okay.
And we have great communication and everything else, just like I was taught. Right, Mom? Anyway, so.
Anyway, so let's get to our weekend review. We got a lot of super big, incredible, powerful, transforming things to discuss about our weekend review. I think we should go. I think I should do this last. I think I should do the one. I am. I'm gonna go backwards.
Okay. Hey, well,
I think I'm gonna go backwards. Let's talk about the baby's birthday. Every year, to be honest with you, I look forward to just celebrating each of the kids on their birthdays. And the way I've learned to do that, you get past gifts and, they're not kids anymore. They're adults. And so it gives me a chance to reflect on our journey as mom and kids, as baby and
oh, you just mean
parent.
Your journey with them, not from my not as parents. We, Marla and Dave, and the kids.
I'm speaking about myself.
Okay.
Because this is the Marla part of the Marla and Dave.
I'm starting to see what my dad is talking about every time when Mom starts talking. He says, "Well, I love them too." I'm starting to get it.
You got it. We know you love them, but you guys have to learn to talk faster. That's the dilemma. But anyway, so it was the baby's birthday. So our youngest daughter turned 25, and I think I went overboard this year because for reasons that aren't always the reasons we would design and choose. A lot of the DJ and Moniece receive a fair amount of attention, and Lexi kind of slides under the radar for good reason. She's just focused on what she's doing and focused on her life. But I really just wanted to get into her character and what a joy it has been to just have her in our life. All of them are a blessing. But the February 9 was the day that I wanted to focus about the blessing that she is in particular. So happy belated birthday to our daughter who is now 25, call it 25 and alive. She's on her path and she's kicking butt.
Doing her thing. We had a great time.
And by the way, I want you to know that I'm going to FCC my own mouth today because your parents are here. In honor of your parents, I'm going to put
I don't know what you're talking about.
On.
Are you saying that you don't usually have nice language? What are you saying?
I
have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, so let's keep it going. With Take 6, I just got back from Utah where we had a great time with the choir there at Logan State University. As well as we're still in the studio working out on our new project.
And guess what else?
It's called Iconic.
And you have had an iconic career, and I'm looking forward to how this whole thing susses out, because I think that there's no better and more appropriate title for Take 6, number one, based on your stellar career and the length of your career and all the things you've accomplished. But I'm looking forward to some surprises. I feel like when you become an icon, you know, when you go to a concert.
So I have to tell you, in order for it to be a surprise, you can't keep giving it away. It's
Wait,
like a kid at Christmas
just hold
when
on.
you
I don't
find out
know.
who has what.
I don't know.
Okay.
But it's like when you go to a concert with someone who has a long-standing career and their career is epic. You're always in the back of your mind, you go to see them, but you're hoping that some of their epic collaborations just pop out on stage like a Jack in a Box. Like, I want that.
Okay. I
I
thought
don't
you
know
were
who it's
doing a
gonna
Cardi
be.
B there with the I had no idea what you did.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, okay, I get that. And I agree. It's going to be fun. Anyway, for those of you who might just be joining us, we're talking about in celebration of Valentine's Day. We have my parents who are well known. They're on the show as well as my sister, Patrice Conwell.
Excuse me, I have to say one quick thing. Go ahead.
Oh, you're interrupting. Go ahead.
No, go on. It's not, yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, so for a celebration of Valentine's Day for us, we have them on the show today. They wrote a great book called Becoming a Professional Lover. My dad's a psychologist, and they've traveled around the country and the world in many cases with their marriage and family counseling seminars. And I've grown up listening to them. I was raised by them, incidentally, and we're lucky to have them on the show today. They will give you a piece of what I had growing up.
A piece of what you had
Just
growing up.
a piece.
That sounds so
Yes.
tantalizingly delicious. We also want to always welcome everybody in all our social platforms. Periscope Radio, UBN Radio TV on Periscope. You're on Facebook. You're on the Marla and Dave show page, as well as you stream on my page, and you can join us in the UBN chat room. So UBN Live. So you're right here. If you're watching the UBNradio.com, then just
on Channel
chit-chat.
1. I forgot to also add that the first 3 callers today will get a free copy of the book from the Marla and Dave show. So the number to call is 323-524-2599.
Can we get the book signed?
The first 3 callers will get a signed
Can you hook us up?
copy of the book for free. And you will be on your way to becoming a professional lover. Keep your minds up here.
You know what, Dave, though? I'm sure, and I'll be honest, I haven't been able to read through the whole book, but I'm sure that as we talk to your parents today, that, in tasteful keeping, sex is also a part of love. So you can say that. Just go ahead,
Of
Dave.
course.
Get the 3 letters out there. Say sex, and we don't.
Sex is one of my favorite parts of love.
Ass is off the table, but arse is legitimate.
Anyway.
Let's talk about the smile that's on my face. Those of you who've been following, those of you who've been praying, those of you who've been supporting and helping. It was a monumental Sunday for us, as well as I'm glad David's parents are here. We've all been in contact with DJ now on a regular basis. Now that D is becoming regulated on his meds. It was my first opportunity with all the obstacles I've been hurdling to get into the jail to see DJ. He looked great. He sounded great. He was joking and laughing with me. We were trying to, kiss through the glass, which was hilarious. Like, because, you can't touch him. You're on the phone to phone. Like, some things you think are just in the movies, but it's kind of real. It's ridiculous. Like, the lady comes in, ma'am, you can't sit on the counter. And I'm like, what difference does it make? Anyway, I'm the person who will get thrown into jail right next to my son. I'll be sitting in there in the cell, which would be good for me at this point because we could hug and I could show him how much I love him. But anyway, he's doing great. One thing that really was good for me to report as he is coming to grips with his situation, he said, the one thing for sure is I don't ever want to be back in here again. And that's huge for him to make that decision to fight, to stay on his routine, to stay in this consensus reality, because over there it may feel like freedom, but the consequences in real life have to be paid when you go and off the wagon. So I'm really glad about that.
And please continue to support DJ's ministry. One of the things that he wants to leave behind as a legacy for his time being spent in jail is a way to help the other people that are in jail to have their basic needs met. That doesn't seem to happen, which is something that we probably should advocate for as well, but doesn't seem to happen from the city, from the state, from the jail system. So we appreciate your help.
Yeah, $60 a month essentially takes care of one inmate for the month, and it's DJ's. It's paypal.me. DJ's ministry. We'll make sure that that's up on our website, and it could be $1. We take all the money once a week and we distribute it. Literally, they write us and give us their inmate numbers, and we walk down to the jail and follow their instructions and deposit cash on each gentleman's. We just distribute it evenly amongst everybody so they can get the basics.
Jocelyn and Claude Thomas Jr., their book, Becoming a Professional Lover, along with my sister, Patrice Conwell, are our guests for today's show. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network. Current events, pop culture, the hot topics of the day. It's time for MaD News on the Marla and Dave radio show. Ladies and gentlemen,
Marla and Dave.
All right,
Wow.
This first story is, when I first stumbled upon it, I almost couldn't believe it. So there was a lady who walked into a Florida hospital. She was posing as a nurse. She was impersonating a nurse, walked into the nursery and stole a newborn baby, kidnapped the baby, walked out, raised the baby as on her own. Now the child is 18 years old. And a few years ago, she was actually caught and prosecuted, and she's about to be sentenced. But today, she actually was considering, she was testifying that she was the only one. She had no help. She just did this. And the picture, I don't know if Tony has put the picture up on the screen, but if you could see it, the picture is literally, the child is just fully in love with that's her mother. How confusing is this going to be to unwind? And how devastated are the parents that lost the baby at birth? She's 18 years old, and she now considers another person her mother. And she's fully in love with the mother.
I'm blinking rapidly because I am like, what the? Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
I'm not kidding you.
And so
she left
no
Florida
foul
and
play.
raised the baby in South Carolina.
So the child was never abused. She just wanted to have a child of her own, so took one and then loved it and raised it.
Yeah.
But you still stole somebody's baby, and now you got to pay.
Let's
go on and talk about Quincy Jones. You know what came up when I saw this? It's the wildest claims from Quincy Jones from his interview. I'm not even kidding you. I want this story to be a lesson to all the young people. If you don't want something in life to come back, just don't do it. People who are sending around nude pics and doing all this wild, outlandish stuff, the thing I was thinking to myself is, Quincy is accusing, one of the many things that he's actually stating in this interview is that Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor had sexual relations.
Well, no. Let me bring you up to speed. So Quincy sat down with Vulture, a magazine, and did just a pretty wide-ranging interview. And I mean, I love Quincy. Quincy is part of the reason why my career is where it is today. He took us under his wing early on, along with Stevie Wonder, and matter of fact, we call him Pops, and we love him dearly. But he sat down with this interview, and he was very forthcoming, to say the least.
He called Donald Trump an MFer. He said he'd been dating his daughter. He also said that Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor
was bisexual. He said Marlon Brando's sex drive was through the roof, and he would actually have sex with a mailbox. Including Richard Pryor, and he named some other guys and women. He had no discrimination.
Both of these gentlemen are dead, but now, does the family who's still existing want to know this?
Richard Pryor's surviving wife put out a statement the next day and basically said Richard Pryor was bisexual and would be not ashamed that he was having sex with Marlon Brando.
Okay.
He wasn't ashamed of his bisexuality.
But if it was,
I didn't know that.
But if it was Pookie and them, that might be a different story.
He also said he knows who killed Kennedy, and he actually named a mob hitman who personally had it done.
Stay safe, Quincy. We love you.
You know, and you know what? We give Quincy a pass because at his age and his contribution to society. There you have it.
And last but not least, there's a stranger that's accused of spanking a man's son in a Georgia store.
Yeah. And so there was a man that was in line with his son at the grocery store. the guy comes up from behind. The son was kind of nagging the dad and saying over and over, "Would you please give me a candy bar?" The guy behind them got upset and literally decides to spank the son on the butt and on the hand.
And then now he's in jail.
And
that spanking cost him $3,390 to be exact, just for his bond.
And we don't think that so far it's not come out that the dad actually killed him, who I would have probably, you can't just walk him and hit my kid. Anyway, we're running over our time. We want to get right to our guest for today.
We'll be
That's
right
the
back.
MaD News for today.
Back with the show.
This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
All right, this, you know what, it's always, our show is always an exciting adventure for us, but it's even that much more exciting when we have family join us. And I think that, first of all, I think this might be your mother's first time on the show.
Dad's
But
been
I
on the
think,
show before?
well, we had our fathers for
yeah.
Father's Day
A long time ago.
a long time ago. So Claude Thomas Jr. is not a stranger to the Madhouse. But Mom and Dad and Patty, we want to welcome you to the Madhouse. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we've called the title of the book multiple times, even on the way here in the car. I had a long conversation. It was very enriching about, you as parents and what you bring to the table.
I don't want to pull a Quincy Jones, but I would suggest you go back and look at Marla's Facebook page, Mom and Dad.
It's all good. I just talked about the things we're not going to talk about on the show, because that's not what this particular book is about, even though it applies because Dave's sitting here. So, that had something to do with it. But in the case that you guys are here talking about becoming a professional lover, I just know that I wanted to start with Patty. Patty, I know that you are a brilliant communication all over. You encompass communications, but as well as your writing skills and all that you're bringing to the table with PT Communications. I believe in it because the bottom line is I've seen it. So Patty did write a book for us a while ago that we have not yet to publish and put out. But I remember her calling me about this project. And she and I had a brief conversation. She said, I'm writing a book for Mom and Dad. And I said, what are you guys talking about? And she was excited about it. So when she told me the title, I automatically knew how fitting it was. But I kind of want you to tell me, Patty, from third-party position, how this came about as far as you organizing and putting this together for Mom and Dad.
Well, Marla and Dave, you all know that Dad has faced quite a few health challenges.
Right.
And I really started thinking about this project as something that could help keep him busy. The catalyst for the book was their 50th wedding anniversary, which we celebrated 2 years ago. And I asked Mom to give me 50 tips that they could share with the people who attended the party that has helped them create the kind of marriage that they have displayed to everyone who knows them. And I took those 50 tips and I created a bookmark as a thank you to everyone who came.
Right.
And Mom began telling me how people who came to the party started calling her, asking if she had more bookmarks because they were giving them away to my nephew who's getting ready to get married or my son who's getting ready to get engaged. And so as people were calling and asking for these bookmarks, for these tips, it kind of rang a bell. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. If people really are interested in these tips like that, then let's do a little bit more with it.
Right.
And my husband, Al, came up with the idea of turning it into a devotional. And since we only had 50 tips, I knew I couldn't do a daily devotional.
Right.
But if we added 2 more tips, it could be a weekly devotional. And that's really how it came about. So it was a project born out of what they had shared, what people were asking for, and then something that could help Dad keep busy.
Right. It had a three-pronged purpose.
Exactly.
You know, well, that's interesting because I remember, of course, I was at the celebration, but I'm glad I asked that question because it was a reminder. I forgot, and I never even considered the bookmark, but that's a pretty unique inception to get into this book, but not just that, but for it to be a legacy. So, because,
Exactly.
you know, Mom and Dad are renowned for those who have never gone to their house, and in which I can't imagine that there's anybody in the Black Adventist community who is not at some point or another being at Oakwood. But, you know, I even said jokingly, but on a sincere level on my live feed, you know, that you embody, Mom and Dad have always embodied love. If you want to feel valued, if you want to feel loved, if you want to feel cared for, that is a signature that comes along with Mom and Dad.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marla. That's so precious.
Well, you know, Mom, I'm glad that you said that. I've been sitting here quiet and allowing Marla to rain accolades on my parents, which it's pleasant to hear that.
Your parents have immunity, honey, not you.
But my question actually, and Patty, I definitely appreciate you helping Mom and Dad with the book. Definitely a labor of love. But we all grew up. Patty is with the rest of our brothers. Grew up with Mom and Dad, literally, and from time to time, just about every weekend, traveling around the country doing marriage and family seminars and helping others with marital issues and counseling. And from time to time, even when Dad was done at the office, would bring people to the house for counseling as well in his office at home. So Mom and Dad, how
Just to immerse them in family.
literally,
Right.
and so Mom and Dad, from your perspective, how much of that history actually has gone into this book?
Well, we just shared ourselves just as we are. You know, the book is us. Marriage is something that's beautiful that you have to work at it. It's something that you have goals, you choose it, and so you choose to behave it. And divorce and that sort of thing never came up in our mind at all. That wasn't a part of the program. We were choosing to work at loving the way God loves us. That's where love comes from for us, and the Word of God.
So now, how would you describe the way God loves us, and are we expected to love others in that same way?
God loves us by taking care of our needs. In fact, that's how we define love. It's taking personal responsibility to satisfy the legitimate needs of another human being. Doing whatever we can, however we can, whenever we can, to use whatever resources are available to satisfy the needs of other people at whatever level.
So
It might be physical, it might be emotional, it might be spiritual, it might, well, I started to say it might be sexual, because that depends on husband and wives from our perspective, but whatever the needs are, doing whatever we can to satisfy those needs and encourage the development of their personal happiness and well-being.
now I know you guys have been married. Mom, how long have you guys been married? It's 52 years?
52 and
Yeah,
we'll
we're
be
not
53 in
53 yet.
October.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, so what we will honestly say is after 53 years, you've had a lot of training. How long and what process, and this is just real talk. You know, one of the things that is obvious is that there is a longevity that aids or that projects your experience at this. But what is the refining process to get to this understanding? Because for you guys at this point, as long as I've known you, which is half of that, it's been seamless. But I'm sure as a young couple that there's a process a refining process to get to that understanding, to be able to practice it with the ease that we see you practicing that? What would you say to a young couple who wants to take what you just said, who just when you're in the throes of something, that just seems like a theory, like yeah, okay, and yes, I'm praying all the time, okay, but in reality, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this situation without having to swap up or get out of this. How do you refine that?
Well, for me, Marla, marriage is not just something that I always wanted, but it's something that God designed. And God, I don't want to I guess I'm overemphasizing it, but this is real for me. God is real for me. And I take his Bible, I learn about him, how he loved us to the point that man gave himself to Satan. And the world was
thrown into sin. Yeah.
And it's all disruptive. God never planned for us to be in this particular situation where there's death and pain and sickness and divorced homes or unhappiness. God didn't plan that. God gave Adam and Eve an opportunity to choose whether to serve him or to serve Lucifer at the time. And they made a choice. And of course, they were sorry about it, but it was too late. So therefore, I don't want to follow him. I want to go with the one that created me, who hung on a tree for my sin and gave me an opportunity to love me to that extent. So here I'm saying, Marla, I promise God that should he give me a husband, should I marry, I would allow him to choose for me, which means now if he makes the choice and he's God, he can do all things, that we're going to make it. We're going to do it. We're going to do this thing. And I really believe he gave me my husband.
Okay, I want to say this right quick. I have to jump in because I was getting some traction in the chat room for the UBN Radio website.
And Brian is on too, and he says, hey.
Hey, everybody. 323-524-2599 is the number to call. My screen was actually frozen, so I couldn't respond. But the first 3 callers today will definitely get a free signed copy of the book, my mom and dad's book, Becoming a Professional Lover. Anyway, continue, Marla.
Well, I just wanted to say that I understand clearly that is that's the foundation of true love on all levels. But I'm asking about the challenges that you personally experiences that you can share that put that in place that solidified that for you. Examples of, right now you're already on this side, but I know at one point you were in year 1, like somebody else who may be listening. And so having to get through that is, deep. Go ahead, Patty.
Okay, so I'm going to prompt their memory. They share a story about dad basically telling mom that she didn't love him.
Oh, well, let me
okay,
throw that
so
in there. Okay.
That is what I'm asking.
Wait, what?
That is a good starting point. So you guys talk about that.
My husband is a reader. Now, if I had someone to be jealous of or something, it would be books. My husband loves to read. And 2 or 3 in the morning, I might reach over and he's not there because he's somewhere in the house reading books. So one particular morning, I woke up and he wasn't there. You've heard of stories where a wife misses her husband and she goes out and he fell asleep, he died. So I always became a little nervous about that. So
even in the first year of your marriage?
No, this is the 10th year.
Oh, okay.
So I went out to see if Dad was okay. I said, honey, you okay? And those who know my husband, so it's something for him to not give you an answer. If he's involved in reading, he may not answer you. So yes. I said, honey, are you okay? Silence. Then he said, you don't love me. I said, okay, honey, it's 3:00 in the morning. Let's stop playing. His next remarks, in fact, you never loved me. I said, I started to get excited about it.
It's what you talking about, Willis. I married you with 3 children and I've been in this for 10 years and you telling me that I've never loved you?
No, I didn't respond like that, Patty.
But in the back brain, Mom, you have to admit there might have been some sass.
Then I said,
that was the sassy mom, like the talk back Barack Obama.
Let's listen to this man. This is real.
Okay, sorry. Quiet.
let me tell you what I was doing.
So at that point, I said, honey, tell me what's going on.
I was looking at some personality studies that I had been doing about us, looking at our personalities and the outstanding characteristics of those personalities. And I was learning that Mama is a doer, loves to be active, doing things. And I'm almost just the opposite. My personality style was togetherness, being together and enjoying time together. And all the time that she's going around the room and the house and what have you, doing all kinds of things.
Thinking that I'm loving him.
For me.
You wanted her to be with you.
Now you're talking.
Just sitting on your lap.
So
hugging.
I said,
being together.
Doing things for me interminably is not loving me. You need to sit here with me, involving yourself with me.
See, this is serious. You see how he's getting all excited?
Talking with me. Or just being together, sharing things together, sharing time together, and what have you. That's loving me. If you insist on just doing things for me, you're not loving me.
I'll be loving me.
You're loving yourself. And one of the things that we learn to discriminate in this whole matter, when she talked about the difference between God and Satan, Satan's focus is on self. God's focus is on others. And everything that Satan does is designed to please himself. Whereas everything God does is designed to fill the need of others. He even gave himself to save others. And he is the epitome of love. You read the Bible, it simply says God is love. The epitome of love. And it's out of that I developed that idea that love is, as a principle, is designed to service the needs of others.
So from that point of view, I chose to love my husband. I chose to listen to him because that's the man I'm choosing to love. And sometimes I would say, honey, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? And we would share. We got to the point where we could talk about things. If things came up and we were a little disruptive, we talk about it. We didn't try to hide it under the rug, so to speak.
All right, so I'm gonna have to ask you guys to put a pin in that because we're coming to the end of our first segment.
And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the reality in your chapter 5 title, Choose to Be Happy, and You Will Be. Really? We'll be right back.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something. 26 years of marriage from two unique perspectives equals 52 years of relationship experience. It's time for Ask Marla and Dave. Answers to your questions about life, love, and relationship based on Marla and Dave's real-life experience. It's about to get real. Ask Marla and Dave.
All right, it's time for the Ask Marla and Dave segment of the show. Before we get back to the conversation we're having with my parents, the Ask Marla and Dave segment is a part of the show where you've already gone to our home, www.marlanddave.com, clicked on the Ask Marla and Dave tab, posted your question, and we get to it right quick right here in the middle of the show. Marla, what's the question for today?
The question for today is, It says, I am 43 years old, and I'm having problems in my marriage and can't seem to find anyone who I feel can relate to the specific issues my wife and I are dealing with. Her uncle tried to counsel us, but I don't feel comfortable taking his advice because he's been married and divorced 3 times. On top of the other arguments my wife and I seem to always have, now she's mad at me and calling me stuck up. Am I being ridiculous? Help me, I'm reaching my limit. And then sign, need a referee. First of all, I'm going to just jump right in on this. I have to. I believe that when you're looking for an answer to something, to dismiss something that could be of value because of a status, and it would depend on what that information was. I personally don't think, I think that, you know, 2 of the wisest things that ever got said to me about relationships in passing came from my parents, who, you know, can't get along inside of a can at this point and got divorced at 17. But the reality is what that nugget was impactful for me in my life. And I tend to dismiss it based on, you know, initially you tend to dismiss it based on a like status. So be careful. Wisdom doesn't always come wrapped in the package that you think that it should come wrapped in. And if you already knew, then you know. So
and I'll add that I have been there before. I used to feel the exact same way until I started to realize that was being extremely foolish and elitist, because it's always good to know what pitfalls to avoid, as well as knowing what are some of the things that you should be doing. And who better to actually tell you than someone who has failed, and you might be going down the exact same street. So follow in my footsteps and you will be guaranteed to fail just like I did. Sometimes it's really good advice. Anyway, that's our advice. That's Ask Marla and Dave. We're going to get back to the show.
Intelligent, fun, and super real. This is the Marla and Dave Radio Show.
So for those of you who are just joining us, you're here in the Madhouse. We have our esteemed guest and family today, and also author David's sister, who's in the side shadow there. We've got David's parents, Claude and Jocelyn, Thomas with us, who are lifetime professional lovers. Ooh, that sounds like a different kind of book. But the question that I was asking before we went away to the break,
we have to be funny. You have to excuse us. That's part of our personality.
I'm actually holding it together, Mom, real well for you. Because I can act up in a heartbeat. But you already know. You've known me for a long time. The question, the statement, choose to be happy, and you will be. Now, I'm going to just jump in and say this. I get it. I do. And on the surface, that sounds great. Just decide. But the truth of the matter is, when you are, first of all, it's hard enough to learn the ebb and flow, the give and take, to cohabitate in a relationship with someone that is forever. Even the foreverness of it is scary to most people, because you think eternity, what? That means no more options? Okay. But when
that's what makes the choosing so important, right?
Right. For sure. But when you make that decision, you know, in other words, a lot of people skeptics, I'm just going to be the skeptic in this, who just says, come on, you know, that's a theory to just choose to be happy and you will be. When somebody's getting on your nerves,
in spite of your environment, current circumstance.
When you're in a situation where, you know, you have that spouse who is just, you know, nothing turns out to be, once you put the ring on the finger, that it's nothing that you even experienced before. Getting through that and deciding to be happy in the middle of a disaster is pretty hard. So let's talk about that. The reality of the function of choose to be happy and you will. Get us there. Get us there in a crisis.
I want to share a story of a mother.
I want a story.
That was taking care of her little child, getting her ready to go to school, and she didn't want to go, and she was acting up, and just mother's trying to put the coat on her, and she's wiggling and whining, and didn't want to go, and And the mother said, oh, that's a sweet girl. You're doing so good. You're just Mama's big girl, and she's helping her put the coat on and treats her like she's the angel. And pretty soon the little girl stopped fighting and said, maybe I am an angel. She just changed her whole behavior. The point I'm making is, as a wife, as a woman, once I know who I am, who made me, and how he made me, and why he made me, how he has enabled me to do certain things, then I know that I'm okay. I can do this. If my husband isn't with me or my children or whatever, in my mind, I spend time with the one who created me, and he tells me who I am and how I am loved. And you can do this. That's the mind. I make a decision, and the decision directs my movements.
So
and my
happiness is a choice, not a circumstance.
It's a choice. It's a choice. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you have to go to the power source to get your power to go through some of the situations that people or husbands and wives find themselves in. I grant you that. It's not as easy as I make it sound, but there are tough times, but you have to decide that you can. God says you can, so I'm going to do this because I love you, and I will enable you, and I will never leave you. And then you can do what you have to do.
I want to speak to something biblical right quick that I want you and Dad to both expound on a little bit. You know, one of the things that, you know, right now everybody is really just cranked on where we are as women, and we have the Me Too movement and women needing to feel valued. And one of the things that gets tossed around very loosely and most frequently is when a man says to a woman, when you say something, a man will say, submit. The Bible says submit to your husbands, but the Bible also says that husbands love your wives like he loved the church, and right, exactly, like Christ loved the church. So I want to talk about that just a little bit. I want you and Dad to both share the real principle of that in your marriage, what that looks like, submission and love from a couple standpoint.
Well, what the Bible is saying, a wife would be more able and willing to submit when she knows from the husband's behavior toward her is loving, when he values her and he demonstrates that, not just when they're alone, but when they're with other people. His attention is upon her.
His respect.
He respects her. He does things for her. She's the apple of his eye, and people notice that. He can't stop doing things for her. She is the number one value in his life. Now, when she knows that and experiences that often enough, submission is no longer an issue.
And sometimes, Marla, husbands will do that in the public. They will say all these nice things about their spouse and how she is so beautiful, and when they get home, he's hell. He is just the opposite of what he's said out in the public.
Right.
And the wife chooses to stay with that husband, but she's living in hell, as it were.
Right.
But he pretends out in the public that she's all this, and she really is that person. But he does not treat her that way, and that's very destructive. That's when I say to a wife, you have to decide, since your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, since your body is a temple of God, if he is abusing you verbally, even if it's physically, you might have to remove yourself from that place. I didn't say divorce him. I said you may have to remove yourself for your self-protection, and then ask God to give you the power to know how to be reaffirmed by him that you are who you are, to get reaffirmed all over that you're okay. God made you a human being. You're valued. You can do certain things. You can do whatever you choose to do. then she can go back into that situation knowing and having the power of God to help her through that. And she might be able to win him as she continues to pray. But I would not stay there and be physically abused or mentally abused to my destruction. That would be destroying myself.
I call that honestly I always say that's the biblical loophole that is always astonishing to me, because the biblical guideline, I'm sure, like you're saying, God's plan was not for anybody, what he gives us permission to leave a marriage for is not even being beaten up, which is, I know that's not the plan. So that's one of those things where, like you're saying, even if it's to remove yourself and let God do the work on the individual, and keeping yourself safe is just a foregone conclusion in my world. Well,
I definitely want don't want to interrupt this flow of conversation, but I want to remind you there's some people in the Facebook discussion that are watching on Facebook saying that they can't call in. I'm hoping that the phone lines are working well, but you definitely need to call if you want to get your free copy of the book. The number is 323-524-2599. Someone actually even said, Marla, that they're at work and they can't call. Would you be willing to allow them to still get a free copy of the book?
You have to call my cell phone.
Good luck with that.
818.
Okay, yeah, please.
312. You thought I was going all the way there.
Wow, you actually narrowed it down a lot. Anyway, or did you? Brian's in the chat room. My brother, and Patty's brother as well, mom and dad's other son. Not as favorite as David, but anyway, he says.
I have 4 wonderful sons.
Just joking. He says, Dad teaches the power of decision versus the feelings, and that Western culture values feelings, not giving the mind enough credit for being able to make a decision that differs from how we feel. And the reality of that situation is, and I was raised in that same way, but I always had a discrepancy, and sometimes I'm just angry, sometimes I'm just mad. How do I just choose to be happy? I think that's like when Dad, one time Marla and I were having an issue, and you said, son, in your sage tone quality, son, if you give your wife everything she needs, she will not want for anything. So are you doing your best to give her what she needs? And I said, oh, you mean she'll stop needing anything or wanting anything if I just give her what she needs? Perfect, thanks. I hung up the phone. In about 5 minutes, I called back and I said, well, how am I supposed to know what that is? He just cracked up laughing and said, good luck. I've been doing it for a lifetime. So my real question is, are these concepts, first of all, are they way easier said than done?
Much so. Much easier said than done. There's some things you have to learn to do. You have to learn to listen. When a spouse is complaining about things, you have to listen. Because within those complaints are the needs that are yearning to be satisfied. And you have to learn to distinguish them as you listen to her rant and rave.
By the way,
you have to make a note of them, and then you have to learn to respond to them. Let her know first that you understand what she's saying to you, that you understand what she's missing, and that you're willing to satisfy those needs. And you might begin giving her some examples of what you're willing to do in response to what she's saying. And then as you begin to do that, she's feeling better. Okay?
But she won't do it right away, or he won't do it right away, because it's been so many years going the wrong way that it's not going to work. It's the same. We're going to go back. He's just putting on, or she's putting on. So for me, it's a decision. Once you make a decision, then you can go forward no matter what the difficulty is, but you got to get to that decision first. And you have to know that there is some power behind you and your decision. I'm sorry, but it's God. That's it. And I'm not sorry, because that's the only way out.
Well, then that brings me to another question, though.
Patty's got
go
something
ahead.
to add.
Sorry, Patty.
Jump in. A couple things. In week 3, they talk about what happiness really means. It's not about specific instances of feeling good. It's more about a state of contentment and spiritual assurance. So first you have to really know what the Bible means by happiness. Then you can really understand how that becomes a decision rather than based on feeling. Okay, so
because feelings change.
Right. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. And in week 3, we talk about what happiness is, and then you can understand how you can get to week 5. But as they said, in all of that, it requires God's power. There is none of this that we can do as human beings alone, because we don't really have the power, the patience, and sometimes not the willingness to do that hard work. And it is hard work.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, speaking of work, again, David mentioned this on our live feed, but in the book, one of the other incredible things at the end of each chapter, there's a week homework,
Right.
literally.
Right.
So at the end of each chapter, so Patty's referencing week 3, correct, Patty?
Yes.
And so the homework, I'll just share this, says using several Bibles and using several Bibles and a Bible concordance, look up the word happy and happiness and write down how each scripture describes what it means to be happy. So,
and may I say that I did that? How about I started it? And it is so involved that I haven't finished it yet.
Wow.
And how long has it been?
I started working on it probably like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And of course, you have to give it time. But in the just saying 20, 25, 30 passages that I already found about happiness, nothing talks about happy as a feeling of a specific instance. It all refers to happiness is obeying God. Happiness is, doing the right thing. Happiness it has nothing to do with yourself and has everything to do with how you're living. And it's always connected to obedience to God and what he's asked you to do. But the homework can be very intense, but that's what we talk about when we talk about doing the work. And so that displays mom and dad's style of not just reading, but studying and then practicing it. And that's why we have the homework. And to make it a little easier, let me just put a plug out for our workbook. We do have a workbook that goes with this.
Oh, wow.
book.
We didn't even, I didn't know that.
Because you have to actually talk to your sister.
On their website, www.theprofessionallover.net. And people can choose either a PDF format or a Word doc format. And so that definitely will help in facilitating the study part of each of the week's tips.
So now, how do you get the workbook? When you buy the book, you can just get a free workbook, or how does that work?
No, the workbook is $12, and you can get it right on their website. So on their website, you will see the shop, and you click on the shop, and it has both formats there. You choose either one, and each of them, again, are $12. And you download which format you want, and you can pay through PayPal. So it's all right there on their website.
And we'll have that information on the Marla and Dave website as well, starting.
I think the name of their book,
later
their
on tonight.
second book, should be "Practice What You Preach." I just think that I don't know.
But before we go, because I know Mom and Dad, you guys only committed to 2 segments. Hopefully you'll think about staying for the final segment of the show. But right quick, and everything that you guys have been talking about has to deal with the Bible and things of that nature. Oh man, the music says we're running out of time.
I have one huge question, which I think a lot of people are going to know.
First, will you guys be able to stay with us for one more segment?
Yes.
Awesome.
All right, good. So think about this, though, before you come back. I want you guys to specifically dedicate the last segment of our show to helping someone find that in that choosing process for a partner. Let's talk about that, because that's the foundation to a great relationship. And it, of course, with all the other principles. I just wanted to add that I'm in the book too. Okay.
We'll be right back.
It's time for the Marla and Dave Doghouse. Marla has something that should put Dave in the doghouse. Dave has something that should put Marla in the doghouse. You decide who gets a biscuit and who gets busted and ends up in the doghouse.
Go ahead, Dave. You be the first one. Mom and Dad, this is a segment where we bring one of our marital grievances to the table. And the public,
That's perfect. We'll give Mom and Dad a thumbs up or thumbs down who's going in the doghouse today.
Are you serious right now?
That is awesome.
Anything I say, your mother is on here. I'm in the doghouse just by nature of birth.
Now I'll let you go first. Hurry up, go first.
The reason I'm putting Dave in the doghouse this week is because despite Dave's best efforts, I think that Dave is well intended, but Dave's communication about things that are super important is as silent as Dave's introverted self. So Dave thinks he spells things out, and I think that we had an incident where we were talking about, oh my gosh, we were talking about something.
Time is tick, tick,
yeah,
tick.
you go ahead. But basically, when you say that you said something that needs to be super complete, and usually for us it's around finance, you haven't given me all of the details, or you think that you gave it, and then when the details happen, you're like, oh, I said that. So I think that hearing the communication and clearly spelling it out is something that you need to go in the doghouse, because you're not doing that well.
Okay, I might need to work on that. I'll leave
then
that
you're
to.
You're gonna just jump in the doghouse.
But
I'm
going to say this: we were going to visit DJ, and I've been the only one who's been to visit DJ along with Lexi in our family. And Marla was trying to tell me exactly how she knew exactly what she was supposed to do. We get to the jail to go visit. I told her where to stand. She said, "That's not where I'm standing, because I'm supposed to stand over here." I said, "Whatever." I dropped her off, went and parked. I came in, and she was, of course, standing in the problem child line, and I was standing in the regular visitors line. And next thing you know, she talks to somebody else there, and she just slowly but surely,
and by the way,
comes over to where I'm standing anyway.
This is where the value of Monice's fans come into play, because obviously a loving hip hopper said, "Hey, you know what? If you stand over there, they're not gonna call you till everybody's gone." I said, "You know what, girl? Thank you." I was just me too.
Well,
anyway,
Mom and Dad, you get to choose who's going in the doghouse. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Marla, who gets the biscuit? Who
gets the bone?
Who gets the bone? Marla or Dave?
I wouldn't put either of you in the doghouse.
Oh, you're so sweet, Mom.
And this is how you become a professional lover.
You're becoming professional lovers, not dog lovers.
See?
Well, thank you for helping us out. This has been the doghouse. We'll be right back.
What's the action?
You'll laugh. You'll learn. You'll learn. You'll get mad.
Shut up.
You'll get happy. But you won't be bored. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
You know what? That's so funny. I had to laugh because I just wrote on Facebook, we both got immunity. I already knew. Your mother could not choose, but your mom could not do one or the other no matter what. She's too loving. She couldn't. It could be interpreted, even though we gave her every permission. Ma, you had permission to do that on the show. This is what we do every week. You had permission. And I really should be in the doghouse, because even though I have a better point to make, I didn't have my details were very vague today. I don't even know. Sometimes I have to call it the way it is.
Doghouse, Marley. I'm going to take you out anyway.
I don't want to come out, Mom. That's the only place I get peace. I go in the doghouse. I collect my own bones, and I just walk in there.
Baby.
So the question I was asking before we went away to the break is, the climate is so different, and you're right. Just even from Dave and I have been married almost 30 years, and from the position that we're in, what I hear amongst all my friends and what I see acted out every day is people are generally self-focused focused. Which I'm saying selfish,
Right.
but that is generally the climate that is also.
It's now just approaching narcissistic.
It is. It's narcissistic on every level. We're in a me mind, society. So I believe it's become harder to even connect and make that initial choice. So I wanted you and Dad to talk to us about making the selection process. Talk to us about
choosing a mate.
Yes, selecting the principles of selecting someone who can see you through time.
One word says it all. When God made a helper for Adam, the Bible says he made one suitable for him. Now that tells you right away, everybody is not suitable for everybody else. That those marriages that really make it, those relationships that are really helpful and that really lead to happiness are between mates who are suitable. The personalities are suitable. Their needs are understandable. Meeting those needs
And values.
Their values are the same, right? They fit one another. Now, all personalities don't fit. All personalities are not suitable. See? And that's the first thing that we distinguish as a marriage counselor. I used to test all my counselees that came in to see exactly what their personalities were. And I point out the positive traits and the negative traits. And when the negative traits outweighed all the positive traits, I would let them know, you're not suitable for marriage. To try to pursue this can only end up in anger or heartbreak. And as a clergyman myself, they had come and asked me if I would marry them, and I would say no, because you're not suitable for one another, and we'd be making a grand mistake if we went on.
Well, a couple of things right off the bat, because Dad, now when you were testing Marla and I before we got married, and then you tested us again sometime into the marriage, it seemed like our flexibility was going back and forth. There were times when I was more flexible than Marla, and then after a while, there were times when Marla was way more flexible in her love style than I was. So that seemed to indicate to me that things change over time. And so even though somebody might be suitable for marriage, a good marriage candidate today, does that always stay the same into the relationship?
It depends on how you function. Every individual needs to learn what his or her strengths are. We are all dual personalities from that perspective. We have strengths, we have weaknesses. If you let your weaknesses be in control of your behavior and your thinking, you're in bad shape. You have to learn what your strengths are and learn to decide to operate on the basis of your strengths. Now, when you do that, happiness is a great deal more possible than if you don't. If you let your weaknesses dominate the time between you, the interaction between you, you're in bad shape. If you let your strengths dominate, great possibilities are there for you.
I would like to add that if an individual, this is what I do personally. I wake up early in the morning when the house is quiet, and I have a special place where I go. I kneel and pray and say, Lord, I'm a sinner. I need your power with me today. And I pick up his word. It's fun. It really is fun. I had intended today when I got up to read a certain passage, but I ended up in the Proverbs. It is exciting, the different things that you read in the Proverbs. You'd be amazed how much enjoyment and strength and warmth and comfort one can get. You can't say this unless you experience it. You might think I sound crazy, but you have, once you experience a certain time in the morning when the house is quiet or whenever it's for you, that you spend time with God and his word, who is the power source for anything you're trying to do in life, you'll be amazed at what comes out of that time with him. So I would say to you, Dave and or Marla, or anybody listening, including myself, you need to, when you're making your choices, go to the one who knows the people you're looking at and choosing to live with and be with, and ask him for direction. I did it in my life and it worked. I enjoyed myself as a college student, as a single person after graduating from college and working in the workforce. I enjoyed dating different guys.
What?
Yeah, I did. I did date other guys before your dad. And by the way, your dad was married before I was married, okay? His first
And your
wife,
father was married before.
I
This
always
is right.
tell Daddy, you were married. At least I dated other guys, but you married someone else. So the point is, we fail often with the power that's available to us. We fail to use it or go to it for the source of strength, for direction, for in anything in life, be for a spouse or what you want to do in life, what decisions you should make about anything. We fail to use God, and God is begging us to please come to him. He wants to do for us.
Can I ask this question? I need to ask to Patty and Dave. Patty, can you slide in for me, please? Pumpkin, Sweet Pea. Hey, all right. So you and Dave are the offspring of this incredible love process and recipients, therefore, and forevermore. You both are married. You've both been, you've been raised by your parents. Mm-hmm. I want each one of you to give me the most tangible, how you applied the experience you had being children of these types of, the best example, and how you applied that example in each of your lives to make the decision for your own spouses. What about mom and dad's words that can you look back at now? Because of course the book didn't exist then, and say, you know what, I did this. Actually, that's interesting. Because of their example. Well,
Patty, ladies first. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Dave. I trained you well.
And if you notice, I didn't say elders first, but go ahead.
That's okay. I'll accept that too. I would say, Marla, especially because I got married later. When I got married at 31, just to put in perspective, the average age of marrying for women was like 22. And I was 31. And I would say that that was because, according to my mother's words and what she shared about women valuing themselves and knowing who they are and who they belong to, I saw myself as a prize. And I was not going to attach myself to someone out of desperation. Growing up in our family, growing up with 4 brothers, I think I gained a lot of confidence in who I was and what my value was. And therefore, I was not going to just give it away because I wanted to be married. I had gotten to the point where I could be comfortable being single rather than making a mistake. And so I waited and
what was the sign for you as far as knowing that Al was the one? Is it because everybody says, God told me, Mom has said it, Dad is, I've heard Dave say it, God told me to marry this person. What does that sound like? Or what was that for you? What was the thing?
For me, it was his demonstration of character. Dad talked about personalities meshing. Dad talked about someone suitable for you. And I really needed someone who was not intimidated or put off by my strength, who valued my strength and what I brought to the table. And he demonstrated that from the very beginning. Now, our getting together was not just smooth sailing, because we were coming from two very different ways of growing up and environments and all of that. But his character showed out from the very beginning. And he had no problems being open to discussing anything about our lives and our lifestyles and what we wanted, and being open to learning new things. And I always have to say, I have to give him the kudos. Al has no ego whatsoever. And I say that meaning he never let personal pride or ego, or I have to have this status, or you have to treat me this way or make me feel this way. That never entered our relationship. That was key for me. Right. Because I could not, after growing up in the household that I did with 4 brothers, and a lot of testosterone, I could not
yes,
be
because your brothers do have egos.
And I will not respond to that. I will let you do that as the wife of one of my brothers.
Your brother does have an ego.
Yeah, Brian.
And so that was key for me. So it was his character. And that's what made me realize that he could possibly be for me. And as Mom said, I asked God, I said, look, I've been single a long time. Don't let me make a mistake and be in hell. Right. Okay. Because I'm not in hell now. I like me. Right. So I need you, if this is who you sent for me, I need you to work on him and make it so that our lives can integrate seamlessly. And if he's not for me, if this is not who you brought to me,
then poof, help him be gone. Poof, be gone. Right.
Then cut it. And he didn't. And we will be celebrating 25 years.
Yeah.
Nice.
Congratulations. There you go.
Tony, can we get a woo? We need it. Hold on. This is wait.
Before I met Claude, my husband, I was dating a guy. We were both grown and working, and just looked like he was the perfect person. But I said,
Reginald,
if this man is not for me, cut the love. Just stop it. And it did. He did that. He really did, and he can do that. This is not a fairy tale. These are real.
Right. No genie in the bottle. These are actual, tangible examples. Dave, you're up.
Yeah. Well, I will say this.
What stands out
for me? I think the biggest thing that I was given is my ability to have my own personal spiritual relationship with God and a personal relationship with God, because that is what allowed me to hear when God told me she's the one. Now, I had pretty much almost come to a similar conclusion years before. I remember in jest, I remember seeing Marla in high school, and I went past the window. I think she was in the library, and I tapped on the window.
You were in the library. I was walking down the hall because I was probably skipping a class. You should have waited and thought better about that.
I actually thought it was the other way around, but either way, I then told Marla at that time that I was going to marry her one day, and Marla was like,
"Okay, was this when you all were 12, or were you in college?"
We were in high school. That was the
16,
beginning of my sophomore year, right before my parents got
16,
divorced.
17,
yeah.
And she was like, "There's no possible way." And at that time, I hadn't gotten a message from God, so I literally, after a while. And I had, whether you consider this fortunate or unfortunate, I had a lot of experience with a lot of different girls before I got married. And the one thing that really stood out to me about Marla is, number one, we were best friends. So when Dad talks about someone that's suitable for you, it wasn't work to actually put our relationship together. We were already best friends. And, you know, that for me is saying a lot. As well as she reminded me, ironically, a lot of my own mother. And so for that, you know, it was a perfect fit for me. And we've talked about on this show We've talked about on this show the concept of love at first sight. And I don't believe in love at first sight the way that other people do, but this is the reason why I do believe in love at first sight. What I knew is that with this person, I could be the me that God wants me to be. And on top of that, I can love this person for the rest of my life, and I know that right now. And that's what I mean by love at first sight. Not that, the same way that most people think about it, but for me,
I don't believe in it.
It was a thing of, I know that I can love this person right now for the rest of my life.
And let me add, you talked about Marla reminding you of Mom. And I have to say, and I say it often, that I married my father.
Ew, this is disgusting.
Getting a little spooky.
Let's hang up.
but
there you go.
But that's what it was for me. Now, I will say
that's a good
this.
thing. You know what? Go ahead.
I want to add this because we're about to run out of time again, and then the show will be ending. Man, everything that you guys have been talking about, Mom and Dad, Patty as well, has been biblically based. Now, the Marla and Dave show deals with a wide range of viewers, and so not everybody believes in the Bible. So how can this be helpful, and how do these concepts help somebody who doesn't really even believe in the Bible?
Well, I'm going to jump in. I think the basic concepts of, I think anybody can take personality tests. I think anybody, if you don't necessarily believe in the Bible, you have some kind of value system, ethical code that helps you decide what's right, what's wrong. And everybody has a way that they loving styles. So even starting at that foundation, and anybody that you're dating or believing that you're going to be engaged to, anybody can take those tests and discover if there's compatibility, if there's true compatibility there or not.
And I would add, we are sharing with you something that has worked for us and how it worked. And I would challenge you to try it. There
you go. And for me, I just want to throw this out there. Dave and I have known each other since we were in second grade. So I've been a satellite up close and personal inside this family, even from just being a child in the community where we interacted together on a regular basis. And I think I've said this to you before.
Yes, we interacted.
Okay. Don't get nasty. Your parents are here. You hear me? Mom? Anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to say that it is at least refreshing for me to watch you, Mom in particular, and I say Mom in particular because at this moment I'm about to speak to women. We have a hard job in the way of we are born changing. We are all born someone's daughter. In a lot of cases, we become someone's wife and ultimately someone's mother. And with all the other things we do in between, our roles are vast. So you have always embodied just a genuine, you show love. So the things that are discussed in this book, I'm saying that it was an honor for me to talk to you guys about this book because I've watched you live it through the years. And we're gonna play the MaD Love game. Are we gonna skip it? And
you want to skip the MaD Love game?
Yeah, let's talk to your parents. But we need to do a quick poll break, and we'll be right. Stay right there. We'll be right back with more of Dave's parents, Claude and Jocelyn Thomas, and their book, and his sister, who helped write the book, Becoming a Professional Lover. We'll be right back.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
Okay, in keeping with our guests, we want to squeeze as much information out of this awesome nugget, this gold nugget we have on our show today. So go ahead, Dave. Let's do our poll question.
We're going to skip the MaD Love game again. Go to www.marlandave.com if you want to actually check out the MaD Love game. Click the MaD merch, but we're going to get right to the poll question. Last week's poll question was, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, what number would you give JT Justin Timberlake's Super Bowl halftime performance. Your options to choose were #1 through #5. The results actually came back at 20% said they would give him a 1.
Nothing.
The lowest that they could give. About 20% were also halfway in the middle at 3. And nobody gave him a 5. Nobody gave him a 2. And
but he got higher marks he got a 4. He got 60%.
Most people said they gave him a 4.
So
at
there you
60%. The poll question for next week is this: is the current climate of the #MeToo movement and more affecting the dating game? Your options to answer are yes, #men are nervous, or no, #same game. You can actually, anywhere on our social networks or at www.marlandave.com,
I'm gonna tell you
answer
now,
the poll question.
My vote is no. Things are the same. It's not that's affecting the dating game. It's some other stuff, but we'll talk about that one day.
And we're going to get right back to the conversation, to the show.
Can you handle the truth? This is modern American dialogue in a mad world from two unique, fresh, transparent perspectives. This is the Marla and Dave Radio Show.
You know what this feels like? This feels like bring your family to work day. Except your family has a lot of cool stuff to say, so it's like cool to have them work. It's like bringing your family to work, and they come in and they're the experts, and they do things faster and better than everybody else. You're like, yeah, I brought my family to work. What?
Well, I want to do a couple of things right quick. I want to first of all say thank you to Mom and Dad. The way that you raised your family showed me quite a few things. But one of the things that I take away from all this and from being raised in your household was that, number one, things don't always have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, things are more than likely not going to be perfect. But in your perfect willingness and desire to commit yourself to the situation, you can have a great relationship and a great family and a great household.
And I want to add to that. I said this online the other day, and I'll say it again. I said it on my Twitter. I said I've done a lot of things wrong in this lifetime, but the one thing that I did right, which I will also credit to you, Mom and Dad, in the upbringing, is the father that I chose to love my children. And I want to focus, if you want to know, especially now in the world of blended families, Mom and Dad are a blended family. And there's a story there. So the point is that if you want to know, for those who are dating and you know, you're looking at things, also we used to say, oh, look at how he treats his mother. I want you to begin to look at how a parent loves their child, the dedication that they have to their children, because to me, that again, you know, you talk about biblical, that is an example that I use as a guideline all the time for myself, as far as a functioning example of my spiritual, what I strive to do. And I look at the fact that, you know, this is our ultimate father. This is our father. We are his children. And I'm always messing up, but I'm never kicked out of the family. So for me, I look at that, and, you know, the love that David, it seems like that it's a bottomless pit, and not just for our own two children, but I came into the relationship with a child that was a baby, that, you know, Dave it was seamless, stepped in and, you know, matter of fact, it was kind of the first time we even heard the term step was used on, you know, the Ratchet Show. But that's not how we were in our household, because there were no steps. We were all children, and that's a pretty big thing, especially when I watch the function of a lot of people around me in their blended family situations. So kudos to you guys for that, and that's a true testament to the love that you showed, and the examples that he saw, and what you poured in, you and Dad.
And also, thank you guys. I know you guys traveled today. You're going to be on the 3ABN network tomorrow, or taping a show tomorrow.
We're taping it. We're taping the 3ABN Today show, and then I'll be taping Urban Report. That's on the Dare to Dream network, and we'll let you know when those are actually going to air, so you can share that with any of your listeners.
Well, I sent 2 different cutouts, the cardboard cutouts. I'll be on those sets with you guys. One will be me on this couch, and the other one will be me standing on the chair like this.
We'll look forward to seeing you, Marla.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I'll definitely be there for sure, without a shadow of a doubt.
So Mom and Dad, right quick, what are your last bit of advice for the listeners?
Yeah.
One of the things we have not mentioned is this. Being that we are imperfect people, everything is not going to be rosy all the time. Mom and I have learned that there's nothing more valuable than when you recognize that you've been wrong. Say, I'm sorry.
There you go.
And ask the other person to forgive you. And let's start all over again and see if we can't make this right.
And I would like to say to all the women out there, get to know that you are a wonderful creature. Proverbs 31 is my model. Read it and just let God help you to be that person.
Be a virtuous woman.
The virtuous woman. Look up, get your dictionary and read what virtuous means.
I've been all up in there.
Determine and choose to be that, and God will make you that.
I just said that one little snippet to impress you, Mom. After all this time,
you impressed me, but that's real for me.
Yeah, I'm saying the virtuous woman. I know all about it. Let me tell you. This is the truth. When I was on my deepest search spiritually, I was very frustrated, and I was frustrated to tears. And I was so tired of everybody telling me what I should be and do and what God was supposed to be. This is in my very adult life, by the way. Married, all the kids, halfway grown, as a matter of fact. And I finally said, you know what, God, if I'm sick and tired of hearing it from everybody else. If I'm going to have a relationship, just show me who you are. And David used to think I was crazy and disrespectful. And my Bible fell open to Proverbs. Don't do that. My Bible fell open to Proverbs 1.
Okay.
And it was the first time that I was not only like thirsty for the information, like couldn't wait to read it, but it opened up, and in my spirit, it was literally, this is who I want you to be. This is the whole book. And I was like, wow. And so that still stands out to me on this day. And it didn't read like the Bible stopped sounding in my head like reading in turn in church. It had a personal impact.
Right.
And so I'm really with you on that. When I said the virtuous woman, I'm serious.
Okay.
So I appreciate that. Well, Dave, do you want to say something?
I was gonna let Patty give her closing thoughts as well.
Patty, Sweet Pea,
Patrice.
Oh, I get to have closing thoughts.
You do.
Okay. I was just leaving it to Mom and Dad. My closing thought is not just because they wrote the book, but this book, for people who say there is no marriage manual, this is a manual. These are clear steps that couples, whether you are seriously dating, engaged, or married, can take to better your relationship. My husband and I, as I said, we've been married 24 years, going on 25 years, and we have started this journey of studying this book together, because there is never a time where you stop learning. And life is always going to present circumstances that are going to require you to go back to some of these tips and restudy them so you can practice them. So this is a manual that can work for individuals, couples, group study, and it really can be of value, especially for couples in certain communities who don't like going to therapy or counselors. It is all in this book, and it can really be helpful in a number of situations.
And Patty, don't move, because I have given your phone number out several times. Can you tell everybody where to find you? There's a lot of things that, they always say that there's two people in this world, people who want to write a book and those who do. So for people who are looking for those services, writing services, I know that you're phenomenal at what you do firsthand. And so please tell them where to find you and let us know just right quick in the matter of like 30 seconds what services essentially you offer.
My foundation is public relations. I do all kinds of promotional writing for businesses, ghost writing for individuals, corporate writing. So we're talking about media kits and newsletters and blogs. I have clients that I blog for right now. My website is www.ptcommunicationsllc.biz. That's ptcommunications.biz. And my number is 256-714-3822.
And we will have all that on our website after tonight, if not late tonight, first thing tomorrow. The book is Becoming a Professional Lover by my parents, Claude Thomas Jr. and Jocelyn Thomas, and along with my sister, Patrice Conwell. They've been our guests today, and we've learned a lot, and we will continue as we go through the book to becoming professional lovers. Thank you guys for joining us.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for the legacy and leaving this behind. And thanks for coming. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. That's all for us in the MaD House. We'll see you guys next week. Pew, pew, pew.